What's up, upstanders? Dr. O here, and I just wanted to hop in and say goodbye to Governor Gavin Newsom. So, Governor Newsom has decided he wants to go towards the middle, whatever. I don't call these guys the right. People say like center right. I don't call these guys the right because they're wrong, as I've said multiple times. But he has clearly decided that he wants to start to appealing to Trumpers and more Republican voters and more conservative voters while throwing the base under the bus. And many of us are just not feeling that. We're just not feeling that at all. During the election, when Biden / Harris were running, a lot of us gave props to Gavin Newsom for his ability to want to go on Fox and go on these places and not bow to them, but debate them, challenge them, talk about, what actually was happening under Trump and so on and so forth. And even though there are people who wanted him to be the presidential candidate, or even if people were more for Kamala, like myself, many of us respected the takes that he was bringing to them. And he was looked at in many ways as somebody who was fighting when people felt like Biden and Harris kind of going a little bit over, trying to appeal to too many Republican voters, the Cheneys of the world. But now, dude is like, what, he got Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, talks about he wants to interview Tucker Carlson on his podcast. And look, I get it. Many folks in the Democratic Party are trying to do more to kind of go for the quote-unquote bro vote. But there's lots of ways to go for the bro vote. There's a difference between brothers and bros. And people need to start trying to go towards the brothers. And I ain't talking about just black people. I'm talking about brothers who are down for the movement, brothers who are down for a woman's right to choose, brothers who are down for a woman being able to do the things she wants to do, brothers who believe that history should be taught in every way, shape, or form and that we shouldn't avoid it. Those are the guys he needs to be going for. And then he's on with Bill Maher talking about, oh my gosh, the Democrats talk down to people too much, and then your Democrats are too caught up in cancel culture. Are you serious? Are you serious? Who's the one who's trying to remove anything non-white Christian male from the Smithsonian? Who are the ones who are removing history from schools about black people, about Jewish people, about the Chinese Exclusion Acts? Like, who's trying to exclude things like the Chinese Exclusion Acts from the books? Like, who is doing that? That's like the very definition of cancel. Who's the one that's going through the records at the Pentagon to scrub anything that has the reference of the word gay to it, including the Enola Gay, the plane that dropped the bombs on Hiroshima? Who's doing that? Who's the one removing people like Jackie Robinson and the Navajo code talkers from the history books and from the that's the very definition of cancel culture, Governor Newsom. And the fact of the matter is, when it comes to your state, people ain't even feeling you that much. Turn your back on the trans community now. Some people say you never fully have their back. Folks in the environmental movement aren't that thrilled with you either. So if you want to go that route, go that route. But I wish you would go that route and call them out. Have these guys on your shows, but call them out for who's trying to cancel more things than Charlie Kirk. So if that's where you are right now, why don't you just come out and just say you're Republican? Come out and say you're Democrat. Maybe that's your thing. Maybe you're like angling to run as a Republican in 2028 or the next election. Like, maybe that's your deal. But the fact of the matter is, we need to put folks on notice. If you're going to call yourself a Democrat and you're going to run away from the base, there will be consequences and repercussions, because we're just not feeling that. And many believe that that's one of the reasons that Harris lost. And so men and women and all these guys can go on shows and talk sports and all of that. You see like a Representative Hakeem Jeffries doing that. Like, oh, that's cool. Ain't got no problems with that. If people want to show that you're the guy people want to have a beer with, but a lot of us don't drink, so we're don't really care much for that. Or maybe have a lemonade with, I don't know. But go for that. But if you're gonna lose your values, you're going to lose us. And people are having this mindset that, for Democrats who need to just focus on economic messages. Last time I checked, there are still women in this country right now being arrested for having miscarriages. There are still doctors who are people trying to arrest down in the South who live in New York for prescribing abortion medication. Trans people are there's less than 100 trans athletes in this country, and people want to say that, they are the problem. They are the ones that we can't talk about. And that they can't have a conversation about how that's supposed to work. What about voting rights? Where you at on that, Governor Newsom? So Democrats supposed to just only talk about the economy so much, only talk about Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and have the Bernie Sanders AOC tours. One of the things I appreciate about AOC is that She'll get out there and do the tour and, talk about primarily the economic issues, but she's not afraid, to talk about, race and racism and homophobia and things like that. And I hope that continues to be the case. Because the fact of the matter is, I mean, you've lost it, Gavin Newsom. You've lost it. And and what's sad about it is that it's one thing to switch views, switch up on people, but you've done it so quick. It's like you looked at the polls, the exit polls for Harris, and you're like, oh, really? That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to switch it up then. And you're just going to be the Joe Rogan bro. Like that's what you want to be. That just shows that you don't really have the character that some people thought that you had, even if we didn't fully agree with you. Like, it just shows that there's more of a chameleon than character. And this is not the time. This is not the time for that. Do you still believe Black Lives Matter? Did you ever? Like, I ain't follow you enough to really know if you've actually muttered the words. When people look at guys like Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, there are tangible things that people can point to that he actually did with his state. Like when the whole bridge collapse happened, he had that joint back up in like 6 hours. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but like there's real tangible things that he can show that has helped keep Pennsylvania moving. I don't know if you can necessarily say that in California. Maybe y'all can correct me in the chat. I don't live there. I'll be out there soon. Y'all can holler at me. But nah, Democrats, I believe that most Democrats wanted the government to shut down. They didn't want Schumer to do to do what he did. People are mad and they're fire and angry, and you've chosen to turn your back on that. You could have been one of the real voices for this movement right now if you just kept doing what you were doing during Biden/Harris's campaign. But you want to go this other route? We ain't going with you. And I ain't even going to wish you luck with that, because it should be a recipe for disaster as relates to the Democratic Party. But I'm not really convinced you'll be a Democrat when it's time to run for president 2028. So, just want to say deuces. Peace out. Arrivederci. Bonsoir. Au revoir. 2009, that means we'll meet again. Swahili. Kwaheri. Like, whatever it is, man. You're selling out your party, and I feel like there should be some consequences to pay for it. We are not riding with you. Peace.